Look, I still think there'd be a compelling case for installing solar on your house or on your business, even without the RET. But the range of consumers for which that case would be compelling would be a lot smaller. What the RET does is it means a much wider number of people can kind of make just a solely economic decision to go down a solar path. And the RET provided the scale of the industry in Australia, which allowed some of those cost reductions to come down. Part of it is based on international factors and the cost of solar being manufactured overseas, and we don't really manufacture solar panels in Australia and those things. But a big part of it is the cost of installation and the economies of scale that local businesses have created by being able to sell at that volume that we've got in Australia now. We've got 2 million solar households. So shrinking that market down, which is what would happen without the support, means those costs change, and it means people who are in the more marginal camp now for making that decision or are just on the edge of being able to afford solar get priced out of the market. So there'll always be a group of people now, given the cost of solar and the cost of electricity, there'll always be a group of people now who see a compelling case to go solar, but we want that to be the largest number of people possible and for those benefits to be spread as equitably across the community as possible. Well, the future cost path for solar is a contested issue. It depends on kind of who you ask, and the Clean Energy Council doesn't have a particular view on whether the cost of solar will definitely be lower or higher 5 years from now than it is today. A lot of the cost reductions that have happened in the last 5 years have been for factors that have kind of exhausted themselves. I mean, issues like the supply of bottlenecks in the supply of silicon internationally, they opened up, but they're not going to open up any further. The benefits of economy of production at scale in China, for example, was a huge impact, but that's been achieved now. That's not going to make a big difference in the future. Some of those balance of system costs, the cost of actually installing systems and the amount of labour hours that go into putting a system on your roof, they've come down dramatically, but they can't go down forever. There's a kind of floor to those things. So, will solar keep getting cheaper for the next few years? Probably, but there is an argument that says it's essentially kind of finding its natural level, at least for a period of time. And so that's why things like government support is important, because solar has become radically cheaper than it was 5 years ago, but it's still not within reach of all Australians, and so that's why we need that support. Well, this is a good question. I mean, we as the Clean Energy Council represent kind of all of the renewable industries. So, as far as we're concerned, it's not a battle between solar and other renewable technologies. We'd like to get to the point where the entire market was renewable and it was carved up in a way that was the most efficient allocation of the different tasks that different generators play in the market. Look, solar at the moment is a relatively small part of the market, but the potential of it is huge. But the industry, to really achieve that kind of big market share, will need to grow out of the kind of behind the meter, relatively small scale market into the larger scale generation. And the economics of that at the moment are a bit more difficult, and would get even more difficult still if negative changes were made to the RET. So solar's got huge potential, but in the short term, it's technologies like wind that are really going to provide the largest share of renewable energy. But the reality is nobody wants to see an electricity market that is run by one technology, whether that's coal or gas or wind or solar. Nobody who understands the electricity market thinks you can have a market dominated so heavily by one technology as being a good idea. Solar's got a huge role to play, but balanced with other technologies as well.